If Pyrus and Crips all got along, they probably gun me down by the end of the song. Seem like the whole city go against me. Every time I'm in the street, I hear yak, 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 yak.
Man down, where you from, nigga? Fuck who you know, where you from, my nigga?
All right, and welcome to the show. This is He Always Right, and I'm your host, Dui Jarrod. So glad to have you all here. This is my inaugural episode, so I've never done this before, so I'm super excited. So if you are listening, I really appreciate you, and hopefully through the episode you find it insightful and fun and hopefully invigorating in some way to your career or your personal life. So welcome to the show. Just a little bit about me. I'm a filmmaker. I'm currently in Los Angeles. I'm kind of bi-coastal. I'm also in Brooklyn as well, but for the most part I'm here. I got to LA by way of Arkansas. Then I went to school in Louisiana. Then I went to Georgia. We're not going to talk about that. That's next week's episode. And then Brooklyn. And then now I'm in the city of dreams. And I'm here just like everybody else on the hustle. As a filmmaker, I've always had one goal, and that is to shape new narratives. That's to break down what has already kind of been out there about Black creators and to shift that narrative into something that's just a lot more powerful and a lot more engaging. All right. So I like to start every episode by discussing a film of the week. And this week's film that we're going to talk about initially is Love Jones. Hey. If you're Black and have not seen Love Jones, I am currently taking all Black cards from you. Have you seen Love Jones? Okay, the engineer has not seen Love Jones, so he has had his Black card snatched. His homework for the week is to definitely watch the fucking movie. All right, Love Jones was written and directed by Theodore Witcher, who is affectionately known as Ted, starring Nia Long, Lorenz Tate, Lisa Nicole Carson, and Isaiah Washington. And this was Witcher's debut feature film, which was made on location in Chicago for $7 million. The film went on to win a tie for the Audience Award for the Sundance at the Sundance Film Festival in 1997. So, trivia, if you know the other film that tied with Love Jones, hit me up in my DMs at Dui Jarrod on Instagram. If you know what the other film is, and you know what, maybe I'll give you a shout out on next week's episode. All right, so just a little bit about the film. I didn't find this film until I was in my 20s because, of course, I'm originally from Arkansas and there's not shit there to watch. So I didn't know anything about this film. But when I did find it, I have to honestly say it was the first depiction of young, educated Black people in a way that I had never, ever seen them before. It was perfectly casted with Lorenz Tate, which was crazy because he had just finished being O-Dog in a film. So to go from that to Darius Love Hall was nuts. And Nia Long, which of course I absolutely love from The Best Man, which I think is actually how I found this film. So I saw The Best Man first and then I found that film. So there was quite a bit of time in between when it came out and when I actually got to see it. Now, what I absolutely love about the film, if anybody's seen it, you all know that it is very elegant writing. Writing is the most difficult part of any film production. So for this to be Theodore Witcher's first film, now, I don't know if this is his first script or not. You know, I really don't know that, but I do know what he accomplished with New Line Cinema is a classic. There's this really wonderful scene that completely exemplifies that. It's called If God Was a Woman. Here, I'll let you check a snippet out of that scene right now.
He can keep it on down.
You scared?
Scared of what?
God.
I know Jesus.
God is a woman, honey.
Ooh.
Okay.
All righty then.
No, hold up. God is a woman.
Look, D. You know, hey, we with you and everything. Man.
If you ever chased a woman, you know that women have a certain power, a certain sexual thing that renders men totally incapable of functioning. Am I right, Vaughn?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
that
right.
shit drives us to distraction.
That's right. Destruction. Look at that kitchen.
Okay. Exactly.
Go look in that kitchen.
A male god would never allow a creature made in his own image to get jammed up like that.
Wait, excuse me. But why Are you trying to impress your date?
Please don't tell me.
I ain't trying to
You
impress
know,
no chick.
you wouldn't even say
You know,
that.
he ain't do. He been telling the
I was
truth.
wondering where he was
Yo,
going with
Savon,
this.
don't you go ahead and break it down for those who don't quite understand what I'm talking about. Break it down for me, bro.
Oh, well, hold up. Let me break it down so it can forever and consistently be broke.
Okay.
Speak on
All right.
it, brother. Go ahead.
Now, when a man gets a hard on, you know where the blood comes from, right?
I love that part.
You know where the blood comes from, right? His brain
And it's fit.
and his feet.
True.
So A, he's stupid, and B, he can't run. Only a woman God think of some shit like that.
That's how she got you, right? That's it. That's what happened. That's what happened. Damn. But nah, see, that's some bullshit. Cause I got it down. I figured it out.
This has become a
Oh,
regular
wait.
forum.
What?
Yeah, all right.
I'm for
We
real.
getting ready to have some Hollywood philosophizing.
Yes. Hollywood got the answer.
Oh, man.
Think about this. Anatomy. Now, if God was really a woman, y'all know how God thinks. She'd put the dick right under the chin. She'd take care of her business.
Tell me that wasn't great. Tell me that wasn't great. It was absolutely wonderful. I mean, just the fact that black people in Chicago are talking like this. This is not the narrative that Donald Trump them shits on Chicago about. And this, I think, is where the urban renaissance era really came into play, where black people were doing poetry and dancing and high stepping and being in love and taking fucking photography and doing fucking dope ass shit. That's when it really was popping off, but nobody knew because it was very understated. Now, Love Jones went on to inspire a host of incredible films. Like I said, The Best Man, Love and Basketball, Brown Sugar. All that era film really came from the Love Jones connection. But the film wasn't very successful because of it was seen through the lens of the white gaze. Now, it was made for $7 million, and in the box office, it only did $12 million, which at the time, there was not a lot of knowledge on how to actually market a film like this. So, of course, there wasn't a whole lot of like, oh, it's amazing, and it gets out to its audience. But I'm telling you, there would be no Get Out, there would be no Issa Rae, there would be no movies like that if Love Jones really hasn't come and reshaped the culture. And of course, during that time, Spike Lee was doing his thing, but it was on a total political slant. Just to be intellect was incredible, but everybody didn't necessarily feel that way. So I'm from Arkansas, and the reviewer from Arkansas, Philip Martin with the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, said, Love Jones strives to be smart and sophisticated, which isn't exactly the same thing as intelligent. So, Philip Martin, I'd like to say you can go to hell with that. That's some bullshit. I completely disagree. And this is also the problem when white people review black pictures. Not to say that critics can't give a critical analysis and you actually learn something from the shit. But what I am saying is when you write a film for your own experience and somebody watches and participates and doesn't get that experience, then you're going to get some kind of review like that. Oh, it's sophisticated, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily intelligent, which it took intelligence to be smart and sophisticated, but that's neither here nor there. But that's my take on how it was received. But one of the other things that kind of bothered me about the film was the fact that this was Theodore Wister's only film. He never did another production, to let you know just how hard this industry is filming. It's been over 20 years since it was done. But Wister, he actually did say this. I thought, not knowing much about Hollywood, that the secret was that you write something that was typical of what usually gets made, and that's your way in. But it turns out that if you can do, because so much of everything is the same stuff around Hollywood, if you can do anything with an inkling of individuality, it tends to get people's attention. And that is some real shit. You got to be original, people. That's the only way to really get these bitches' attention. All right. Take a break, and then I'll be right back. All right, we are back, and we are doing a section that I affectionately just simply refer to as wins and losses. That's right. This week, I'm going to bring you all the wins and losses this week to tell you everything that's popping in filmmaker black world. All right, so let's start with a loss. The loss this week to me is the Oscars. I think the Oscars are hella fucking trash. You know, there's always been this idea that there has to be some standard that we have to get to as creators, and we fight and 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 wait for agency only to get there and it is not to even hold its relevance. I mean, even if you look at films that you want to see, you actually go to Netflix first before you go see what Oscars have won. I mean, they're not representative of the broad community. I thought the show was extremely fucking boring. I think the show is always boring. I mean, you can even get the biggest show in the world can even get a host this year, right? So that should tell you something in and of itself. I think it's just honestly lost its luster. Last year, I actually went to the Dolby Theater, which is a beautiful location, but I'm just telling you, like, the Oscars does not necessarily hold the respectability that it once did. Everybody that won, I was happy for them. Of course, you know, it was wonderful to see so many Black women win awards, but just the show overall, I think it tends to try to spread things out instead of be honest. There's no way that Kendrick Lamar and SZA's song should have fucking lost. I mean, it was the hottest song of the year, but it loses to Lady Gaga, which is fine. I mean, Lady Gaga is great, but I just think the whole show was an L. I thought it was boring. I thought if the most exciting thing is the fashion on the red carpet, I mean that tells you right then and there what you think about that. All right, for a win, I'm gonna give a win this week to Spike Lee, brother Spike. Cheering for you, homie. Everybody black. The only thing I'll say about Spike Lee, because I actually do have thoughts about how exuberant he was when it seemed like he really didn't give a fuck about their award. So I think that's actually pretty interesting in of itself. But for him to win an award, especially for writing, again, I think that's a great thing for us as Black creators out here, especially writer-directors, because it shows that we do have the capacity, even within our own frame, to be able to create work that can be broadly celebrated. And I think that was more of like a lifetime achievement award without it being called that. Because, I mean, he's written some other films in the past, and I'm not going to get into all that. Maybe that's next week. But I will say I am happy that the brother did get on stage, receive his award, and win the praise that you could tell he wanted, but acted like he didn't. Yeah, I said that. Okay. Another loss for this week is R. Trash fucking Kelly. I mean, straight up nigga is trash. Literally this morning was the first part of the interview with Gail, who had a fucking stiletto in his fucking trash ass neck, and you just saw this explosion. But the reason why it's even in this whole section and why I'm even fucking talking about it is to show you the power of media. Without Dream Hampton doing that dope ass documentary and people realizing, oh my God, this nigga really is trash. Now you see what he's going through, and he looked like a man who realizes he cannot play the same game that it was before. I'm fighting for my life. Yeah, nigga. But so were all those women that you was fucking over for all those years. So how about them fighting for theirs? So that's a win for the women. Oh, that's my actual win. Gayle King and the power of media. So I guess I killed, two birds with one stone. All right. So that's my win. Shout out to Gail, Oprah's homie. Do your thing. Loss for the week goes to Film Labs. I submitted for another Film Lab. This was interesting because this Film Lab, they actually asked me to submit for the Film Lab. Now, I didn't automatically think that I would get into the Film Lab just because they asked me to submit. But why would you ask me to submit if I necessarily wasn't going to get in? Which, I mean, it is what it is. I totally get it. But I just think Film Labs, usually when you see them, you see the same broad swath of people. They went to NYU, they went to USC, they went to UCLA or Columbia's film school and shit on everybody else that didn't go to that. So, I mean, Film Labs should really just be called scholarships for those those institutions. But yes, I'm not being salty. I don't want anybody to think, oh, he's being really salty because he lost. No, it's not that deep. I wasn't mad because I lost. But I do think Film Labs are set up for continuation of the same people who are always winning to continue winning. I don't think it's really designed for an outsider from Arkansas or Nebraska or Florida who just has a really great idea and truly need development. But that's just my thought. And the last win of the week, yes, drum roll, goes to Shadow and Act Rising Awards. This past week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to the Rising Awards hosted by Blavity. And I have to say, it was the littest fucking event I have ever gone to. It was absolutely wonderful to see us celebrating ourselves for ourselves. The keynote for the event was Barry Jenkins, badass Barry Jenkins, who gave this really, and I'll kind of surmise, I don't know if his thing is online, but he talked about there's no art form that is organically American, right? Americans really haven't created anything. We didn't paint, we didn't start sewing, we didn't do shit, right? I mean, that lets you know something about that. But again, a topic for another day. But the only thing that America artistically is responsible for is jazz. It's the only thing, right? Now, that tells you where the jazz come from, because we already had the instruments, we already had the horns, we already had the pianos, we already had musical notes, but what was it? Those instruments got into the hands of Black people. And because of that, we transformed and created a completely new sound. And he likened that into Black people now having access to camera equipment that we never had before. It was just absolutely inspiring. You saw the most beautiful Black people just loving each other, hugging on each other. So shout out to Blavity. Shout out to the Shadow and Act Rising Awards. Shout out to all my wins for the week, and trash to R. Kelly. All right, we taking another break, and we'll be back. All right, we are back for the meat of this. I know you are only listening to this podcast so you can look at my trash ass life and hopefully glean something. So this week's episode is titled For the Love, and I really wanted to take a moment and talk about what guides you, right? What guides you as a filmmaker, what guides you as a director, an editor, a writer, what brings you here and guides your artistic journey. Well, since you're getting to know my episode, you might as well get to know me. Now, how can I simplify this? Okay. I'll tell you what really made me decide that I had to be a filmmaker, because it's something that you have to do. It has to be it can't be something that you want to do, but something that you have to do. I remember I wanted to act, right? So I'm in New Orleans and I'm acting and I'm doing my thing and I'm auditioning, but I realized that I'm auditioning for the same type of dude, the drug dealer or the thug. Now, if you know me, I drink Chenin Blanc, I drink Sincere, I drink Chardonnay. I don't drink no motherfucking 40s. So I don't know shit about being a thug. So I go to this one audition, and this lady, I remember her name to this day, SG are her initials. What? Go search that hoe. And I'm in there doing this audition for a thug. I think this was thug number 3. So clearly the other 2 had already been casted. So they're like, oh, okay. I like how you read this, but I need you to be more Black. I'm like, whoa, okay. I said, okay. So purposely, I read the role the exact same the second time, because again, who defines Blackness? I knew what she wanted from me, but I purposely was totally fucking fed up and I wasn't gonna give it to her. So I read it the exact same. She goes, oh my God, good. I'm liking what you're doing, but I want you to take it to another direction. I said, yeah, of course. What do you want? She said, I just needed more, Black. I was like, oh, yeah, I could do Black. So I read that shit the same fucking way that I read it the first 2 times, just again to prove a point, because how are we defining Blackness? So I finished that, and she goes, you know what? I like what you're doing. I like what's going on. But, I said, wait, you really wanted more Black, right? She said, yes. I said, well, why don't you just demonstrate it for me? Like, let me see the Black that you're looking for so I can give you Black. And of course, she goes on some stereotypical shit, like with her hands out and grabbing her crotch. And I'm like, no. That is not how we are. That is not how we are defined. So that day I fucking left out that place and I said, I can write some shit better than what is being written. So my compulsion from the very beginning was to change and shift the narrative. Well, I produced a short film, and then I did a second short film, and then I was ready to move to Hollywood and start working with motherfucking Will Smith. And I came to motherfucking Hollywood, and nobody gave a fuck. And I remember sitting in Pasadena with my cousin Halima, shout out Halima, and nobody gave a fuck. And I really realized, like, yo, this shit's not nearly as easy as what it was. 6 weeks later, my ass is back in fucking Louisiana looking crazy as fuck. And I gave my sister-in-law a call, and she was like, hey, what happened? How did everything go in LA? And I was like, the shit didn't work out. I'm not going to do it. She was like, dude, after 6 weeks? I'm like, yeah, after 6 weeks, it didn't work out. And this is what she said to me. And this is what I will share with you all. She said, never look at the best case scenario to decide if something's worth it. You have to look at the worst case scenario. Who took the longest to get there? What was the hardest road to get there? If you can suffer that, then you're supposed to do it. And I took a moment and I realized, damn, she's right. Now, what I learned in my own journey was that if you don't know that, right? Let's say you're in Chitlin Switch, which I don't even know where black people got Chitlin Switch from, but let's say you're in Chitlin Switch, Kansas City, right? And you don't know who's the worst case scenario, which you really have internet. If you have internet access, you should be able to find out. But anywho, there's 3 things that I say guide you. It's progress. Your personal progress, your professional progress, and your artistic progress. You have to fucking ask yourself, are you as a person growing from this experience? Like, are you becoming actually better or are you more shitty, right? Because money only exposes who you already were, right? So, you like to meet a rich asshole. That's because they were a poor asshole, right? Bottom line, common denominator, they're a fucking asshole, right? But if you're more generous, if you're more kind, if you're more adept, if you're more able to see things before you weren't able to see them before, that is progress. And that fucking shit counts. Now, professionally, because we'll get back into that personal stuff a little later. Professionally, does the industry respect you or are they pacifying you? Now, listen, I'm keeping the shit real. I know I said film labs were trash earlier, and they still are, but film labs come from film festivals who are still the marquee for independent film content creators, right? Now, there are film festivals out there who are fucking trash. One is in San Diego. I'm not going to say the name of it. Just know it's in the fall. And I went there and I had the worst experience of my life. They were there to make money and to pacify people. But there was no respectable industry there, right? So if you don't see the industry calling you at any point, that may be a key that you're not making any personal progress, which may mean you may need to stop doing this, right? Or people are always pacifying you. The only people that are showing up is your grandma, who really didn't have shit to do, or her bridge tournament ain't going on that weekend, but she don't really care about what you're doing, then maybe you need to stop, right? Now, I'm not trying to kill no dreams, but there's also reality to every dream. At some point, you have to wake up, all right? So, personal, professional, artistic. This is easy to quantify. Are you better at what you're doing than when you started? If you're at the same place, if your films are still getting into the same fucking film festivals, if you casting the same motherfuckers with the same cameras, with the same angles, you're not growing, right? And if you're not growing, you shouldn't be going, right? Stop. But if you are, if you're a better person, if you're getting respect from the industry, if your work is artistically better, then you have to stay on the path. What did my journey in the beginning look like? Well, it was Lesson Before Love. That was my first feature. You can go look at it right now. I'm going to do a shameless plug on iTunes. You can request it on Netflix, but that bitch ain't on there. But maybe that'll make them want to put it on there. Or you can go on Amazon Prime and check it out. And I made some big fucking mistakes. All right. So here's some first project mistakes, because we're talking about Love Jones and Lesson Before Love, which of course you see the connection, and people who are doing their first features. All right. First thing first, wrong budget. If you don't have enough money, you shouldn't do it. I set a $300,000 budget to do my first film, and you know what my motherfucking ass did it on? $35,000. It's fucking crazy. Pure craziness. Was it bold? Yes. Was it necessary? Of course. But was it dumb as hell? Absolutely. If you're trying to build a house in Hollywood, you cannot do it with sticks and stones. You have to get a contractor, right? You cannot build artistic integrity on nothing, right? All right. And the second big mistake that I made, and there are a lot, trust me, we're going to do a whole lesson before love episode, and I probably will be cussing a few people out. CJ, how are you doing? The biggest problem that I had was not paying myself. And let me tell you how this is manifested. Because I didn't pay myself in the beginning, I still struggle to pay myself. Even on projects, like I just had a project with Brick TV. You know what? I didn't pay myself. Why? Because I give everything to the art. Who you are is only manifested through what you get, right? I said that earlier. If you're an asshole, you're going to just continue to be a rich asshole. If you don't pay yourself in the beginning, in the end, you will not be paying yourself. So do not make that mistake. Now, I could talk about friends and shit, and you already know friends is the biggest path to you losing what you're doing because friends should not be on your set, so I don't need to get into that. But I do want to talk about one of the things that really caused my problems with Lesson Before Love, and that was my expectations, I got to speak properly, versus my reality. Because I had seen a couple of films that had gotten to Sundance that were just really not that great, I just swore my lackluster $35,000 effort had every right to be in Sundance as well. And you know what? When that shit didn't get in, I was fucking crushed because I didn't understand the reality of what I was doing. Just because something was there last year doesn't mean that they're going to go to that same level. You got to step it up. So being unrealistic was one of the biggest problems that I had at the very beginning of the film time that I was trying to do my thing. And so now is the question that everybody's been asking me, man, where's your second film, bro? When you going to do your second motherfucking film? The truth is, I don't fucking know because I committed to doing one thing, being fucking great. So if I don't have the resources or the money or the time or the support, I'm not going to do it, which was Theodore Wichter, the writer-director of Love Jones' whole point. My brother has not done a film in 20 fucking years. And for him to pull off that feature, he did a feature film with Lorenz Tate, and I mean, it was amazing. Him not to have a second film at all, I mean, come on. Oprah, where you at? Ava, where you at? Jordan Peele, holla at your boy. I'm telling you, he's out there. All right. Well, that's my little advice for the week. And I got one more section. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I don't know why we're cutting to commercials because nobody's buying that space just yet. But it's to let people know that one day you may be able to buy some space. I don't know, shit. All right, so this is the last section. It is called In Parentheses. It is when I give my big sigh. All right, so these are some shits that's been on my mind that I've been struggling with this week, and maybe it'll help you. I usually give 3 different topics, and then I choose one to expound upon just a little bit more. All right, so what's been on my health this week is mental health. Of course, you know why. If you saw R. Kelly with that Beijing, it tells you right there a lot of people are struggling with their mental health. There's no reason for that brother to have that Beijing looking like that. He looks fucking ridiculous. Then I'm thinking about the fleas, the people around you who are only around you to get what they can get from you, see Basquiat's work those last 8 years or so. That's been on my mind. And then also that's really been on my mind is the journey of one, how it sucks, but it feels like you're always the one responsible for some shit, right? You're responsible for getting the money. You're responsible for pulling the cash together. You're the one responsible for bringing the food to set, People say, oh, that's not a thing you can delegate, but I get it. Until you at a place where you can delegate, you cannot delegate. But my big sigh of the week is mental health. I've really been thinking about mental health a lot this week because it's really time, especially as Black creators, that we get that shit in order. So let me tell you, I was one of the first to completely be against any type of mental health because as Black people, especially raised in the South, we're told if you need mental help, you are crazy and there's something wrong with you, right? I remember my my auntie used to always be like, ooh, such and such, she just really touched. And you never wanted to be that person was like touched. So if you needed to get mental health, that kind of was an indication that you needed to be touched. But I'm telling you, you should be touched in a really good way. A few years ago, I decided I was struggling with some things. I didn't know what to call my lack of movement was, right? Like I couldn't move left, I couldn't move right, I couldn't make a decision to go up, I couldn't make a decision to go down, and I didn't know what that was called. And so I ended up talking to a friend, and she was like, "Oh, you're depressed. You should see someone." And I was like, "Depressed?" I thought depressed equated suicidal, right? So if you're depressed, that means you pretty much just want to end it all. And I wasn't there. But it really said depressed means that you're just not able to make a decision. You are stuck. You're in a depressed state, right? And so I called deep up on my courage and I found a therapist. And I'm so glad I found LaToya. Yes, her name is LaToya. Yes, I was looking for a sister. That's the only reason why I got LaToya. But God brought me to LaToya, and LaToya was talking about some real shit with me, which ranged in all sort of topics from religion to Black masculinity that I was struggling with, to how I saw myself versus how everybody else saw me. Pretty much, I was in the center of all my own personal issues. And you know what that lady did? She healed me. She helped me work on my own shit. You have to talk this shit out. Because if we don't talk about it, it will make us fucking go crazy. Listen, I listen to Justin Simeon's podcast all the time. And whenever he's on there with like Issa Rae or Lena Waithe, you can tell that they are connected because they also get a chance to heal together. It is so hard to heal on your own. A lot of times you need someone outside of yourself to tell you the truth that's already been spoken to you in your own heart. Listen, let me tell you what my biggest problem was in my career. And I don't know, maybe I'm being a little more vulnerable than I should, but I'm gonna just say the shit. Mom, do not tell Dad that I'm about to say this. My biggest issue in my whole career has been me trying to prove shit to my dad, right? My dad is a very hard, spiritual, deeply convicted man, right? And it felt like nothing about me measured up to what he wanted me to be. And so I realized that I jumped into this film game, into this film industry to prove to him that I was fucking worthy. I was worthy of the same love that he gave to everybody else, right? And because he didn't give me the love, I said, well, I'm gonna be so fucking great. I'm gonna be so fucking great. You're gonna just have to give me love. But this shit didn't work. I did a feature film. He was happy for me. He wanted me to win. He really didn't give a fuck, right? I did plays, one-man shows. He turned that shit around on me and made it like, like it was a whole thing, told family members that he didn't want to see the play and he didn't enjoy it because it was about him. And I never mentioned him in the entire fucking show. These things happen, right? My dad's not a bad person. He's just who he is. He's a person who has not decided to deal with any of the mental health because that nigga got a whole lot of trauma he's been dealing with, but he never took the time to heal it. Listen, that mixed with my own personal shit, mixed with this film shit, was gonna break me. So what I had to do was take a step back and get my mental health in order. Am I perfect? No, but I drink a lot less. I'm a lot less dangerous, and I'm a lot more deeply connected to God and who I am and what my purpose ultimately is. So for any of you filmmakers out there who are really struggling and you don't know where to turn, you don't know where to go, you don't know what the true problem is, my advice to you is take some time to get your mental health together. There's talk space, there are friends, there are really honest people in your life that you can talk to. Talk that shit out. Pick your computer up, or pick your camera up, pick your editing software up, and get back to work. But the first thing that you got to do is heal yourself, because only healed people create amazing work. All right. That's my show for the week. That's it. This is my first episode. To be honest with you, I'm nervous as hell. But I'm doing that shit. All right. So let me tell you just a few things to put on your mind. All right. So things that you should read. The script Her by Spike Jones. Underneath this, you'll see like a link in the bottom where you can find that script for free online. It is an amazing read for any writer out there. If you're not reading scripts all the time, you really cannot get better. Somebody told me that years ago. I didn't believe them, but it is absolutely the truth. You definitely have to read that. What would I personally love to film? Grace Jones. Did y'all see that motherfucker walking on that runway? Just bad as fuck. So, what you should listen to? James Davis. They got this album called Lamplighters. I don't know what is going on with Motown and what they're doing with them, but I'm telling you, James Davis is one word. It's 3 siblings, 2 sisters, which I think are twins, and a brother, and their music is crazy fucking dope. Please go check them out. And the thing that you should really think about this week, yourself. Think about your fucking self and what you need and what you want and how you're going to get yourself there. All right. All right. So that's the show. I don't really have shit going on, so there's nothing to be like to tell you about. You can definitely go check me out at DuiJarrod.com. That's DuiJarrod. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at DuiJarrod. I'm going to have some really good announcements going on in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully you can take those journeys with me. This podcast is going to be a weekly podcast, so I want you to come back same time, same place next week and check me out. All right. I'm out.